Wrestling. Another podcast about it. These are the ramblings of a wrestling fan. My mission: to talk to wrestling personalities and other fans, to seek out new promotions and podcasts, to talk about wrestling like a lot of people before me. And we are recording. So hello, Frank Mandolini. It is a pleasure to finally get to speak with you. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, likewise, my friend Jeremy. It has been a long time coming, absolutely long time coming. Totally different world since the time that we met, which was during the freaking pandemic.
Right.
But now I'm pretty good. I would say I'm pretty good. Yeah. How about you?
I am doing very well. I recently became a grandfather twice in the span of a couple of months. So I have a granddaughter and a grandson now, and I couldn't think of a better job. You know, it's just so awesome.
Yeah, that must be so cool.
Yeah. So what got you into wrestling, especially in Italy, where that's not such a common thing?
No, not at all. Not at all. I always say that I had like three different periods of time in my life where I got into wrestling.
Okay.
First time was around 1989, 1990, probably. I have very few memories of that because I was like 2 or 3 years old at the time.
Right.
So I vividly remember seeing Hulk Hogan on the TV. And I remember that there was a child in the same road where I was living at the time that had a sticker album with wrestlers on it.
Yeah.
I remember that. So I'm sure that at the time in Italy, wrestling was kind of mainstream. Then, of course, it all went away. And around 1999 or 2000, we had for 1 year or something WCW Nitro. We had it, and it was weird because I had no idea about WWF or WCW at the time, and I didn't know there were two promotions worldwide, and for what I remember about Hulk Hogan was being a good guy. So all of a sudden it was Hollywood Hogan. I was like, okay, that's weird. What's going on here? I had no clue about how wrestling worked. So heels, faces, I had really no clue about at the time. And then in 2004, wrestling became mainstream once again, and it was pretty big in Italy, actually, from 2004 to 2007. So all the Ruthless Aggression era, so that you get the time frame. That's why I love the Ruthless Aggression era. It's my favorite time in wrestling because it's literally the one time that I really, really can say I grew up watching something.
Okay.
I was a teenager at the time, and I loved it. And it all basically went away in 2007 after Chris Benoit, and everybody knows what happened. Right. So and they took it off TV at the time, and it has been like that ever since. So it's now there is wrestling, but like on smaller channels that they do not have like a mainstream audience. So it's not as it used to be.
Oh, okay. So you mentioned Hulk Hogan. Was that your favorite growing up, or who is your favorite wrestler?
Ooh, again, difficult question. At the time, I had an Ultimate Warrior action figure. Okay. And that was really a prized possession when I was a very little kid. Then I should say probably again I'm afraid that I have to mention this again, but I was pretty much into technical wrestling, so I loved to see Chris Benoit going at it. I loved Kurt Angle as well at the time, and Eddie Guerrero as well. So those were my guys back then. Then later I discovered Bret Hart and everything else, basically. Like, it all came later in life for me. And Rob Van Dam, I loved him. I
Yeah, the
absolutely
whole fucking
loved
show.
the whole fucking show. Absolutely.
Just phenomenal talent. And you brought up the technical side of it. That was what, as I got older, that's what I really started appreciating, because in middle school and high school I did Roman Greco wrestling.
Okay.
So I really enjoy the technical aspect of that, and seeing like legitimate holds and things like that. And, how Kurt Angle would do that spin around on the top of him and smack him in the head and stuff. I remember seeing that stuff in practice and at actual matches and stuff, guys helicoptering on another guy's back and then, toying with him a little bit. So that was always one of my big ones as well. My next question would be, what would be your dream matchup between any wrestling superstar alive or dead?
Bret Hart versus Kurt Angle, for sure.
Oh,
for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
and since we are already talking about Brett and Kurt, let's add Brian Danielson to the mix. Make it a triple threat. I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
I'm not a big fan of three-way dances, but that would be one that I would definitely be on the edge of my seat for. That's for sure.
Yeah. Or any combination really of the three together. Any combination would really work. And it's a pity because we were so close to have like at least Kurt Angle and Brian. So
that close.
And but quite frankly, I mean, I love technical wrestling, but I am also on the side of like big brawlers who really cannot move that much, but that doesn't matter. Like
big old hoss fight.
I discovered those wrestlers later in life, but somebody like I don't know, a Bam Bam Bigelow or I don't know, like every big man that you do not expect like a technical clinic out of them, but they can tell a story. That's interesting.
Yeah. That was always, I've always liked a good just two big guys in there just throwing blows with each other, and just tearing it up in the ring.
Yeah, to a degree, I think that at the end of the day, the wrestling is like something with this out of time characters, a zombie mortician, and this kind of stuff. I like when wrestling makes sense, but it doesn't always have to make sense. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It can be entertaining because I'm going to see Star Wars not because I want to see like a documentary. I want to be entertained with something fabled, something out of time, larger than life, and that's more or less the same. So that's why I like probably like when you have like really big guys going at it, because it's some like the size of them. You don't see that. You don't see that kind of thing on the streets.
No, and you really don't. A 6'7", 6'8" guy, two guys just going at it. That's not something that, to see two guys that size in one day, even in different time frames, is highly unlikely. So that is a spectacle that you just don't get. So wrestling is that escape for you and provides that, and that's what I've always loved at the core of wrestling is that there's something for everyone. If people would just take the time to sit down and just give it the chance, watch a 2 or 3 hour show, you're going to find something that you like.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say jokingly, sorry, that then I'll let you go ahead with the questions.
No, you're fine.
I always say jokingly that the first WrestleMania that I watched like consciously that I knew what WrestleMania is WrestleMania 21.
Mhm.
And which was a nice addition of WrestleMania to start, because it was a pretty eventful. The first ever Money in the Bank
Yeah.
was on that card, this kind of stuff. And on the card there was Big Show versus Akibono, which is a match that gets ridiculed everywhere online.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't know better. I fucking loved it. I loved it because it was like something weird and incredible and unbelievable in many ways, but it was entertaining. And I didn't care about 5 stars
Yeah.
rating.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have some stupid, mindless fun, and that was really, really
Yep.
funny to me.
Yep.
So I always defend that match. I love Big Show versus Akibono.
Well, and you had two giants of their industries. You had the
Yes.
Big Show, who is a legit the giant now in wrestling, and then you had Akibono. He was the Yokozuna at the time, wasn't he? He was the Grandmaster in sumo wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the same logic that I applied like to last year's WrestleMania, which the main event, you remember, that was Brock versus Roman, which is a match that we've seen plenty of times. Okay, I get that, but you don't have to think like a wrestling fan. Think about it as a casual fan.
Yep.
A casual fan that doesn't know a single thing about wrestling. And a casual fan that probably knows Brock Lesnar but doesn't know Roman Reigns.
Right.
And you see, one has a title on his shoulder, the other one has the other title on the shoulder, and you clash to unify the titles. This is something that you can market to the casual audience. That's why they went with this type of match, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then you add an attractor into it, and I mean, who's not going to get excited to see that? Did he really just do? If you're a casual fan and this is the first time you're watching, oh my God, did he really? He could have. Yeah. Oh my Lord!
Yes.
And at that moment, that switch flips in your head, and then you've got to come back the next time to see how does this play out from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that there are kids that it was their first WrestleMania, their first big match, their first big event, and they will remember that forever. They say, "Whoa, you had 2 world champions going at it, one against the other. That's crazy,"
Yep.
There would be a money match in every other individual sport. You have a boxing world champion versus boxing world champion, this kind of stuff. That is in other sports, this is the norm. This is not considered strict. Only in wrestling, this is considered weird.
Yeah. And it's so, and it's funny how odd that it is in the wrestling world, but yet we look at it, like you said, in the boxing, it happens every day, essentially.
Yes. But pick any sport of anything. Like, I come from Italy, and of course in Italy, football, which is soccer to you, is huge. It's very big. I never liked it personally. I never liked it, but even I know that every summer and every winter you have the best football teams bidding for the best players. So you have the best player that maybe costs a shit ton of money to one football team that gets bought to the rival football team, this kind of stuff.
Yep.
And this is normal. This is how it works. So, because at the end, it's another business. But if you do that in wrestling, everybody, he's an AEW guy and went to WWE, or the other way around, is a WWE guy, and how dare he betray us and go to AEW? Fuck it, guys, chill. It's in every other sport. This happens since the dawn of time.
All the time. Yeah. So, I'm sure that there were New England fans that were upset when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay, but there were a lot of Tampa Bay fans that were happy to see him come.
You see?
And it's funny like that. It's just funny like that.
Wrestling can be weird, and wrestling fandom even can be weirder.
It's like when Cody left WWE and then went to the independents, and then they announced that he was going to be doing AEW with Tony Khan, there were a lot of WWE traditionalists that were just like, oh my God, how could he do that? How could he do
Yeah.
that? And now he's coming back, and you've got a lot of AEW people who are just like, eh. It's
Yeah.
like, why? He went from one sports team to another to do the exact same thing. He's not leaving to go act in movies.
Yes.
He's not, just completely abandoning the sport and just screw you guys. I'm out of here. I'm done with this. He's still doing something that he finds enjoyment in, and he wants to bring enjoyment to you as a fan. Just appreciate that. He has no obligation to you at all, and he's putting himself out
Yes.
there every single week for
Yes.
your enjoyment.
Yes. Plus, you have the chance. You still have the chance to see him doing what he does best, because
Yeah,
at the end of the day, he's a professional athlete slash entertainer. Call it what you want, but it's his profession. That's the
yes,
point. And
yes,
so so you don't get mad if your favorite actor, I don't know, has a starring role in a Marvel movie, and the next year has a starring role in a DC movie. I mean,
yep,
you shouldn't get mad because of that, right? Like,
right. You
it's
should
his
you should
profession.
just be happy if you're a
Yeah.
comic book fan. You should want to go see him anyways.
Yes.
You know,
That's
and especially if they're your favorite actor, you should want to go see them anyways, regardless of what they're in.
yeah. Absolutely.
For what studio, whatever. It's just there needs to be a little bit more ELE in the world. Everybody love everybody.
ELE. I never heard of that. I'm
Uh,
gonna use it. Gonna use it.
Will Ferrell. What was the name of the movie? He was he was a basketball team owner, semi pro.
I haven't seen this movie. Yeah.
He was an ABA basketball team owner before the NBA took over, and it was the Flint Tropics, and his motto was ELE, everybody love everybody. And I heard that, and it's just stuck with me ever since. And I try to do that. I try to treat everybody that way.
Yeah, you really do. You're one of the kindest people that you can find on wrestling Twitter. I say that from the bottom of my heart, really.
I try, because there is a lot of negativity on wrestling Twitter, and I try to avoid it as much as possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. I try to do the same. Not always is easy to do that, but
Right. Another thing I wanted to talk to you
yes.
about was your music career. You astound me with how many different areas and pies that you have your fingers in, and music is another one that music and wrestling are something that I hold dearly to me, and that's something that you're involved in too, and I'd love to hear some more about that.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for calling it a career. It's like, I always say, it's a hobby that I take very professionally. So, but I mean, I was lucky enough to be born in a small town in Italy, but this peculiar small town, when I was growing up, when I was like 13 or 14, something like that, was really thriving, in the underground musical scene, I should
Okay.
say. A lot of bands came from this area, and specifically from my town. A lot of bands that, I mean, they weren't famous, but they were like consistently touring Italy, every weekend, every having gigs, which is not easy if you're not signed to a label,
Right.
if you're not, if your songs aren't on the radio. It's not an easy task.
Right.
And so basically, I had those people that were like 10-ish years older than me, which could have been like my bigger brothers.
Right.
And so I grew up following a lot of these bands. And I didn't play any instrument at the time. But I sort of learned how to play something just by looking at those bands.
Oh
just
my.
just a little. I was just like stealing with my eyes. I don't know if
Right.
it makes sense.
Yes.
um,
Yes.
and then when I was 17, I finally made the move towards one of those bands, my favorite band of the local scene. And I said, guys, can I just come one day when you like do your rehearsal? Can I just watch? They said, no, you cannot come to rehearsal, but in 2 days we have a gig and we need somebody who sells merchandise. So would you want to come on tour with us?
Why
Okay.
not?
Okay, I was 17. I had to skip school to go there to and to. So I basically spent like 3 years of my life touring with this band because of
Oh
that.
wow.
Even earning like little money wasn't like it wasn't like a salary, of course.
Right.
But who cared? I was 17. I had to tour Italy and being immersed in this musical scene, which was really thriving at the time, and so it was a very cool learning experience for me. And then after that, I started playing an instrument and singing and doing stuff myself. And I did a little bit of touring as well, not so extensively, but like few good years.
Yeah.
Then I should say like up until 2016 or less. Then I had like a couple of years where for working reasons, I mean for reasons related to my job,
Right.
I couldn't do that anymore as much as I wanted to. And then the pandemic happened. So basically, out of the blue, I realized that I spent like 5 years of my life without playing live, and even playing very very little in my own house. I should be honest about it. And then I got the itch again to try and do that. And last summer I was fortunate enough to buy the house that I'm a flat to buy the flat that I'm in at the moment. So I had a few months where it was, it's a burden to do all
Yeah.
the bureaucracy stuff, etc. So my mind was completely focused on that, and my wrestling podcast suffered because of that. I put out very little, very next to no episodes for different months because I had other things to do.
Right.
Then once finally all this crazy busyness that I had going around stopped, it was like something clicked, like a closet opened in my head, and I was like, wait a minute, I can play the guitar and sing. I should try to do that more often. I should try to do that in front of people. So, which I used to, but it sounds like another lifetime ago.
Right.
And and then I had a bet on myself. I gave myself like a month and a half to prepare, which sounds a lot, but really isn't.
It's
When
not at
when it
all.
comes to music,
Yeah.
to be like a good parallel could be you have you are like not fat but soft, a soft
Yes.
guy. let's
Yes.
say let's say that you are a soft guy, and you have a month and a half to be completely shredded and go compete at the Arnold Classic. That's a fair comparison.
Yeah.
That's a fair comparison.
Yeah.
If you're not used to play your guitar and sing anymore, you have a month and a half to learn like a hour of songs for a gig that you want to play. It's really really not so much time to do that. And I gave
No.
myself that time, and I did came back to playing live music in December. That's happened December 2022. It was so fucking good, and I freaking missed it. I did like a mix. I didn't want to play my songs because usually when I do that, I have like a full band
Yeah.
with saxophones and guitars and this kind. Yeah, I'm a Dave Matthews Band freak,
Oh yeah,
fanatic.
yeah.
That's the idea of the music that I play normally.
I am a
So
closet Dave Matthews freak. That is one of
yeah,
my guilty pleasure bands. Oddly enough, that gets me
fantastic.
hyped up more than punk rock does.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I understand what you mean. And but this gig was just for me, wasn't with a band. I wanted to do it by myself,
Yeah.
so I went there just voice and guitar. And I had another guitar helping me out, and another very good guitarist coming on stage with me, which is a younger guy that I am. I've been wanting to play something with this guy for I don't know how long, and that was the occasion that I was like, "Hey, would you want to do this?" I said, "Okay, cool." But yeah, this has been my comeback to to live music finally,
Awesome.
and I can't wait to play a few more dates.
Awesome. Awesome. That is so awesome. Frank, I want to thank you for taking a moment out of your day to speak with me. This has been a long time coming, and I would love to do this again in the near future if you're up to it.
My friend, whenever you want to, I'll be here for you. More than happy to jump on board of your podcast.
Thank you very much, Frank. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so very much, and you have a great evening, sir.
Likewise, I wish you happy rest of the day there in the US.
Thank you, sir.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Ciao.